fans, and welcome to this edition of the Corona Chronicles. I am Jason BURGOS for Sherdog.com, and I have the pleasure of being joined by a true influencer in this MMA industry of ours. He was there at the beginning of it all and being a key part in the formation of the UFC, and he is still going strong today as the CEO of Combate Americas. He is the energetic, F-bomb dropping extraordinaire named Campbell McLaren. Campbell, thank you very much for freeing up some time to talk to me about Combate Americas and the effect that this pandemic is having on your organization and the entire sport.
Jason, great to talk to you. You know, I think you're terrific in your field, and I love how you cover the sport.
I just wanted to get your opinion on just the industry's handling of the pandemic. You've been in this game or part of it on various levels for a very long time. What are your thoughts on how various promotions have gone about navigating this problem? LFA, KSW, Aris, FC, all pretty much, are on pause indefinitely. UFC did Brasilia. They're still trying to do UFC 249. One championship is going to start maybe empty arena at the end of April. Cage Warriors tried to do an event. Now they're postponing. Should promotions have done like Combate did, postponed early in March when it became obvious this would be a serious thing? Or do you feel like to each their own and you understand that that promoter's point of view to push the envelope until you can't push anymore to push your promotion forward?
Yeah, I think that's how I describe it. Everyone should make their own decision on what's right. I'll talk about the UFC and I'll talk about Combate because those are two things, two organizations I have run. So, Twitter had some interesting comments about this. The media, when I was running the UFC, especially UFC 1 through 12, the first 12, being we got to stop the UFC because somebody's going to die. So it sounded a lot like the criticism that Dana White was getting.
Yeah.
If you do 249, someone will die. Well, I've heard that before, and it wasn't right. I'm not saying that we shouldn't take this coronavirus very seriously. I'm at home. I've been home for 2.5 weeks. I was in Mexico City 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
I was in the headquarters of Televisa. We were actively planning to do live shows from Televisa's studio in Mexico City.
Okay.
The plan was to be on this week with live studio shows from Mexico City. So obviously no audience, right? But still doing, and we would have focused on, we have a lot of fighters in Mexico City, in particular Super Mele Martinez, who is the greatest. And we lucked out that I was going to have her fight every show. No, I wasn't, but that would be enjoyable. So I was actively planning 2.5 weeks ago to be running events or studio shows anyway in Mexico City. I flew home 2 weeks ago Friday, and of course the State Department on Saturday told everybody to come home from around the world. So I literally got in about 8 hours before that edict went out. So I admit I was actively planning to do events up until 2 weeks. For what he was running the UFC in those early days. If I'd have stopped doing UFCs because journalists, the media, and to an extent the government told me to, there wouldn't be a UFC. So what Dana's doing is carrying on what I think is the best UFC. The show must go on. Now, everyone has to decide what's right for them. Obviously, fighters and other people that get paid by the job want to do the job because that's how you get paid. So I do understand that too. I think that there's, I've got a lot of friends on Twitter. Amy Kaplan, dear friend of mine, very good writer, great photographer. She thinks it's immoral for Dana to do that. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's immoral. I think there's an economic decision here and there's a safety decision here. But look, my mailman is still, and I got an email from my town saying the post office now has coronavirus in it. So should we shut down the mail? Is that a moral decision? I tell you, I'm not getting my mail, and I'm putting a trash bag out at my front door with a sign that says "Mail goes here." But Dana White's got to do what's right for the UFC, and the UFC. Look, trust me, the DNA of the UFC is the show must go on, because on UFC 2, the New York Times said death is cheap. Maybe it's just $14.95. That was what the New York Times said about the UFC. UFC boasts. Two, they were already saying that. So I think there's that mentality at the UFC. Is it a moral decision? I don't think so. But look, in this environment, not only am I not cursing, Jason, I want to be friends with everyone. I want everyone to be safe. I want everyone to be happy. I want us to come through as soon as we can. I want the whole world to be okay. I really am. Mexico City has so far avoided what New York looks like, and New York looks bad, you know. You live in New York City, right? Yeah. So you know how bad it is. I don't want that for anyone. I don't want that for anyone. So it's all good. It's all peace. It's all love. Everyone should make the decision that's right for
in
them.
This very long career you've had along with this industry, was postponing the 3 planned events for Combate in March one of the toughest you've ever had to make, or was it far easier than some may understand because of the health risks, the CDC and the World Health Organization were talking about large gatherings and outbreaks? Did those large departmental organizations kind of make the decision a lot easier for you, or was it tough? Was it much tougher than I think?
No, it wasn't tough. It was disappointing.
Yeah, okay.
We were disappointed, but no one in the company said, "No, we got to do. The show must go on, no matter how many people get sick." No, we didn't say that. It was disappointing, though. And there's a great economic impact, right? Yeah. I am not one of the ones saying, everybody go back to work because there's going to be more people, off because of the economy.
The promoter's perspective on dealing with something like this, because I actually was just talking to Martin Lewandowski from KSW and asked him a similar question because he had to postpone events. A person not in your shoes would think 3 postponed events could mean lost revenue for a given year or a given quarter. Is that what it is in its simplest form, or is it much more complicated than that? And as long as you can reschedule these events somewhere, you're pretty much made whole for your fiscal year plans for 2020.
That's not right, by the way. But I'll answer the whole question. Okay. So, look, as we're looking at postponing events, and no one likes to say cancel. Everybody prefers to say postponing. Right? Look, I don't know when we start up again, and that's the real problem, right? I think there's 2 issues. I think, one, combat sports are in a great position, have always been TV sports. They can start up much more quickly. We don't have seasons, PFL notwithstanding. Fighters can get themselves in condition pretty quickly. Everyone prefers 10 weeks. A lot of guys do 5 and 6 weeks without a problem. It pushed guys step in the day before, right? But it happened a lot. So I think that when we go back on, we can get ahead of all the other sports. People are going to be starved for combat sports. It's going to be great when we get back on. Now, I think there's going to be a glut of sports in the fall if things go the way I think they're going to go, right? Because the NFL, the NBA, MLB is probably gone. Soccer starts up again. There'll be college football again, I think. So you're going to have, and everybody's going to want to do stuff in October, November, right? So I'm hoping we can get on over the summer. No, everybody's going to lose money, Jason. There's no doubt. Everybody, not just me. Everybody's going to lose money. You can't, there's only so many weeks in the year, right? And we were running a pretty full season, right? I mean, we were going to do 35 events. So 35 events in by the time we start up again. I think it's going to be true for the UFC as well. PFL, I told Don Davis, I go, you guys may really have missed the bullet here by, kicking off at May. So I think they may be okay. But the whole world has gotten clobbered. Why would MMA be in any different position? We're not the Olympics. The Olympics are royally
You were gonna say, you were gonna curse. You should have did it.
No, no. Look, I'm not even Catholic, but I'm glad I gave it up for life. I'm glad I gave it up for now, because whatever happens, whoever is looking down at me and us, whatever, be happy with me. I'm looking for good points at this junction.
How does, now transitioning away from just the events and stuff like that in a way, but how does a decision like this work with TV partners? Because you have them. Do your broadcast partners have any influence when it comes to a decision like this? Or they don't. And as long as you maintain the content you're supposed to contractually, offer, or they understand the situation. But either way, does a TV partner not have any kind of say when it comes to postponing an event in a situation like this?
Well, it's the other way around, amigo. They want the events as much as I do. Right? I mean, they don't get paid if they don't sell advertising, right? And even though, our replays on Univision are doing 300,000 people. And one of them was at 1 a.m. because of the time difference. Mexico doesn't switch over to the daylight savings time at the same time we do. So our replays are doing well, but people pay for live sports in the sports world. They're paying for live sports. So it's not us versus them. Televisa, Univision, and Access, they want live shows. But they totally understand there aren't any live shows.